This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, West Alabama, Internet world. How are we doing today on a Friday? The last Friday before official college football gets started. You have made it. Okay, there is college football tomorrow, so you really have made it. But next week is game week, and oh my gosh, the offseason, the long offseason is finally over. Thank you so much for watching us on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com. You're checking us out on the Bama Central YouTube channel. You're watching me on my favorite social media, on your favorite social media machines at Joe Gaither 6, or you are listening to us on your favorite podcast platforms, the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. We want to say congratulations to you for making it through the long summer. And we're going to have a lot of fun today on the show. We invite you to jump in and join us on the comment section. We are going to be joined by my friend Tyler White, the sports director from WDHN down there in the Wiregrass in Dothan. He's got a very busy afternoon. I appreciate him giving us some of his time because he's going to be covering a lot of high school football as it got going in the area last night. So we're going to talk to Tyler White. We're going to talk about Nick Saban and some comments on some rat poison. Josh Pate put out a college football playoff prediction yesterday. Where did he have Alabama? And we'll see whatever's left. Lots of other stories out there in the college football world. But before we do that and get into it with Tyler, I need to tell you about the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Alabama and in Mississippi, Purple Turtle Roofing. Whether it's addressing leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your property. They're the leading expert in local residential roofing solutions. Call them today. Call Dustin Foley and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free roof inspection. That's 877-787-6635 to schedule your appointment, and one of their qualified employees will come out and check out your roof for free. Tyler White, lots of storms in the Wiregrass over the last week or two?
It's been a little hectic. I think my roof is okay, and obviously not in West Alabama. I might have to give Purple Turtle Roofing a call, though. That's a pretty good sell right there you got.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. All of Alabama, all of Mississippi. You got to make sure you're ready for your next storm. Call them today, 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free roof inspection. But that's not why I had you here today, Tyler, to sell you a roof inspection.
Of course not.
Man, you ready for the football season?
I'm doing great. Of course I'm ready. I went out and got a haircut. That took a little bit longer than expected. I was hoping to be at the station by now. If you hadn't noticed, I'm in a car. Not the ideal scenario, but we'll make it work. Obviously, you know how we do our running around, and we got to make things work the way they do sometimes. But man, it doesn't get. I don't get more excited for a time of the year than this. High school football started in West Alabama last night. We didn't have any games here last night. Starts for us tonight, and man, there's some good games on tap. But college football starts next week, and who's not excited for Alabama football this year?
Absolutely, Tyler. I know you will experience this tonight if you haven't already, but last night I'm out at Gordo. They beat the brakes off of Fayette, actually. But the right before the game started, it's been not a fun month or two inside my brain, which is A-okay. We hope everybody's doing well on that front. But the game, the players are taking the field, and I just had such a deep sense of thankfulness and gratefulness to be in the moment and just like, oh, man, it's finally back. And just, I don't know, something about football starting. I woke up today a little bit happier, feeling a little good, feeling a little bit better. Tell us, what's going to be the big game in the Wiregrass area? What's going to be the premier game on WDHN Sportscast tonight?
Okay, probably the biggest game is going to be Enterprise at Andalusia. Andalusia has been I believe they lost in the semifinals of the playoffs last year in 4A. They were the state championship the year before that, or the state champions the year before that. They move up to 5A this year. They're an amazing team. Enterprise, though, is going to be one of the premier teams in 7A. That's going to be the biggest heavy-on-heavy matchup. I think Enterprise should handle that just from a straight, class advantage perspective. Andalusia is very good, but Enterprise is a very stout 7A team. Our game of the week is going to be Dale County and Headland. That's a real big-time local classic rivalry we got going on. Two teams that should be decently evenly matched up this year. Headland 5A, Dale County 4A. Headland losing a lot of experience from last year, but they bring a lot of talent back. They're a 5A team. They had some depth. Dale County brings back a lot of experience and a lot of talent. So that is going to be our game of the week. Other than that, Dothan High School is hosting Childs out of Tallahassee. That's a 7A on 7A matchup, or however they do that in Florida. I think it's 7A. Dothan should have a really good team this year as well in 7A. They're probably not quite as touted as Enterprise is, because Enterprise, they have three Power 5 three Power 5 commits on their defense right now. A corner going to Kentucky, a safety going to Auburn, and a defensive end going to Ohio State.
Studs.
Dothan has some D1 commits on their roster. G5 right now. A couple of other guys with a lot of offers that they're stacking up. So they should be a very talented team as well. But yeah, man, just excited for some high school football, man. Can't wait to get into it.
Well, before we get into the Alabama side, tell everybody where they can tune into the high school football on WDHN tonight, whether in the area or online.
All right, so in the area, obviously, Channel 18 down here in the Wiregrass, WDHN. We'll see that. We'll have that show going at 10:15. We'll have our Game of the Week coverage live at 6 as well, starting out, kind of previewing that a little bit more. We'll have all of our updates out on Facebook and online at WDHN.com. And then after our show ends at 10:30, we'll be live on our Facebook, WDHN, with our overtime extra point show, calling all our highlights again, giving a little bit extra in-depth analysis, having a little bit more fun on the Facebook Live atmosphere. It's always a great time, and we love to have as many people as we can there. We try to have a good time, so we think it can be enjoyable, whether you're interested in the teams in this area or if you just want to watch some high school football highlights and two dudes that love what they're doing.
Well, I hope you guys check out Tyler White tonight. It's going to be a huge night, really all over the state. And Tyler, it starts this evening, so I wish you great success. I hope all your cameramen get to where they need to go, and camerawomen get to where they need to go, and everybody's safe. And it's just a great, great season for you guys at WDHN. Tyler, you want to start?
All right.
Let's start with Pat McAfee. All right, Pat McAfee leaves Monday Night Raw for a couple of months because college football gets started. He is over in Dublin today, and who is his big old guest? Nick Saban is on the Pat McAfee show, and Pat McAfee dances with Miss Terry, does a little Irish jig in the middle of a pub. It was great, great theater to watch Pat and Miss Terry do a little jig. But the real news for me, the real talking point for me was Nick Saban took his mask off for half a second. He was able to leave his mask on. What was July and August, almost a month and a half, not even a full 2 months before he took his mask off and said, oh yeah, that SEC championship game prediction. Remember when I said Georgia and Texas would be in the championship game? Oh, yeah, well, that might have been a little bit of reverse rat poison. Nick Saban, the quote is as follows. I've always hated it. You can read it on BamaCentral.com right now if you'd like to. I've always hated it. I'm going to hate it on this show, on any show, or on game day. Having to predict or make hypothetical decisions about who's going to win the game, who's going to win the championship, who's going to win what conference. I've always hated that. I picked Georgia and Texas because it's reverse rat poison for Alabama. It's a motivating factor for them not to get picked. I hated to be picked first or second. You don't know how that's going to impact your team psychologically. These kids are affected a lot by what they read, what they hear, what they see. I didn't want them to see anything too good. So Nick Saban lets his mask down, and is he still coaching for the University of Alabama? I think we'll wait till Tyler gets reconnected here, and that's A-okay.
Obviously no BS. I might be losing connection here a little bit as I walk into the building, connecting to Wi-Fi. Awesome. Cool deal. But like I said, Saban, he had me fooled when he made that initial prediction because, you know what? I could see Saban being the type of no BS guy that's going to, switch right to the TV and speak his mind. But this doesn't surprise me one bit with in regards to Coach Saban. Still having a little bit of that, wanting to help Alabama in whatever way he can, and in his own twisted way, getting it done probably with a lot of motivation there. Who was it? Was it Tyler Booker that came out and was like, we don't care about what a golfer has to say about our season, because we don't care about what the people on the couch have to say about our season. So that was a great storyline when that came out. Just hearing from him, hearing Texas, first of all, their first year in the SEC, and pick Texas was hilarious to me. But now it makes so much more sense. So I'm glad that he revealed that a little bit, but also maybe he did a little bit too early. Couldn't he have waited until after the season? Because if that was truly his intentions, down the drain, right? I mean, the season hasn't started yet, and that rat poison is going to spread if that was what he was worried about. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Obviously,
he was able to maintain his poker face. He showed all his cards before the season even started.
That's what I'm saying. Absolutely.
Well, let's get into something I talked about a lot yesterday, and I think it's going to create a lot of problems in the SEC. The tiebreakers. We looked at we looked at it yesterday, and we looked at really how many teams could end up at 7-1 or 6-2, and really with the way that you add Texas and Oklahoma in, what did you make? How did you make of the tiebreakers? And have you thought about maybe some of these big programs that might find themselves left out of the SEC championship game due to some of these tiebreakers and these unbalanced schedules?
Look, I haven't gotten a chance to really delve into it yet. Could you walk through those real quick? You have them pulled up.
The tiebreakers, essentially, it's basically everything that you would imagine it would be, right? It's head-to-head record, and it goes all the way through. Let me pull her up here. Post, because I don't post that much, so it's not too far down for me. Oh, Gordo. I have all my Gordo posts from last night to work through. All right, right here. Let's see. Head-to-head competition amongst the tied teams. Record versus all common conference opponents among the tied teams. Record against, this is number 3, record against highest, best place, common conference opponents in the conference standings and proceeding through the conference standings amongst the basically, the tiebreakers are nothing that you would think are unusual, but I think that you have set yourself up for a big challenge this year with 16 teams playing an unbalanced schedule, because everybody's playing different sets of eight opponents. And then you look at, like, basically my scenario was Texas at 7-1, and I had how many teams? I had Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Missouri, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and LSU. 6 teams at 6-2. Basically tied for second. And so, of course, all 6 teams think, oh, what we have done, we're going to be in the SEC championship game. And then you look through all the tiebreakers. Well, imagine the Georgia fans if Alabama goes. Imagine the Alabama fans if Georgia goes. And Georgia, like this game here in Tuscaloosa, it's going to be huge, Alabama and Georgia. But will it determine the SEC champion? I don't really know. I think there's going to be some really upset fan bases. LSU, if they finish 6-2, but Alabama goes to the SEC championship game, or Ole Miss goes to the SEC championship game instead of them, I think you're going to have some really upset fan bases, and I think you're going to have a real problem on your hands.
I think fan bases can be upset. At the end of the day, I mean, the tiebreakers are not, like you said, are not out of the normal or not out of the usual. Sometimes a team with the same record as you may have just had a better situation with their schedule that, gave them an advantage there. And some years that may be for you, some years that may be against you. The only way that you can really guarantee yourself a spot, don't lose any games. Don't lose any games. If you want to be upset at somebody, be upset at your team for not winning enough games to get there, for putting yourself in a position where it comes down to a tiebreaker. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to for me. Obviously, it's very challenging in the SEC to win all of your games, to not lose a game. But that's why they call it. That's why it means more. That's why it just means more. That's why it's the best conference in college football.
All right, we're going to close the loop on another topic from yesterday, and it was Graham Nicholson. We woke up yesterday to Chuck Martin, the Miami of Ohio coach, saying Alabama stole our kicker. Alabama illegally recruited our kicker. And Kalen DeBoer responding afterwards saying he jumped in the transfer portal. We contacted him. We did everything right. Well, now we see Graham Nicholson is at Alabama. You got the Lou Groza Award winner. Is this a case of sour grapes, or did Alabama tamper with Graham Nicholson, or is this just par for the course with the transfer portal?
Probably par for the course, but I mean, who knows? Who really knows? If he has a real grievance, take it up with the official, take it up with the NCAA. It's not very classy to just come out throwing all these allegations. If you have a real grievance and real proof that this happened, go about it the right way. Don't come out and slander someone's name who, by all accounts, up to this point in his career, seems like he's done everything right in Kalen DeBoer. Alabama, you're Miami of Ohio. We're Alabama. If we want your players in there in the transfer portal, they're probably going to want to come to us. It probably doesn't have much to do. I don't know. Maybe a player DMs them and it's like, hey, we need a kicker. I don't know what could have happened, but one way, somehow, Graham Nicholson is on Alabama's roster. I'm very happy about it. If they prove that there was some sort of actual grievance, then it's something to talk about. Until then, he's just blowing hot steam. It's all hearsay. And I feel like that's just how it's going to go for a long time now. Like, anytime somebody transfers somewhere, there's always going to be the claims that, hey, there's tampering. Hey, this is not done the right way. And as it is now, even with the regulations, I feel like the right way is such a loose term. Because even with, like, we saw it happen with Caden Proctor. Like, there's no he goes to Iowa, and then there's allegations of tampering that I think are actually I want to say proven, substantiated. Yeah. And then he turns around and comes back. So what happens with all that? It's a muddy area right now, and it's something that needs a lot of delegation as it gets more and more prominent. Which I don't know how it could get even more prominent than it already is, but it will. I mean, it's the face of college football right now. It's free agency. It's what it's come to, and it is, for the better or worse. That is for the viewer to decide. But at the end of the day, if you want to make these claims, substantiate them and file an actual grievance with the NCAA.
We're talking to Tyler White, who is now settled in the WDHN sports studio over there down there in the Wiregrass in Dothan. We appreciate Tyler White joining us. You can follow him on Twitter at Tyler White TV, all one word, and we appreciate his time. Tyler, can I give you my theory on this? You're exactly right here. Chuck Martin, if you have a problem, file a grievance. Great. I think that's exactly right. But the reason why he's not, and the reason why you don't see these coaches file grievances, because you rarely see it. You remember the Colorado State coach talking about people trying to poach my players, and who was at Kansas State as well. Kansas State had an issue where they had, people tried to get my quarterback and this, that, and the other. The reason why they're not filing grievances is because they're doing it too. It's because they're doing it. Like, look, Alabama, Caleb Downs goes to Ohio State for what, $3 million, and Trey Amos goes to Ole Miss and gets tampered with, maybe, who knows, we don't know. But like, the reason why none of these coaches file grievances, and this is just a theory, I mean, hear me say that, just a theory, is because I believe they don't want to tattle on their buddy because they're doing it to someone else as well. Like, it's just the nature of the beast. And so for Chuck Martin to come out, they stole Graham Nicholson. Well, shouldn't you want your kicker? Shouldn't you want any of your players? Shouldn't you want any of your players who are playing at Miami of Ohio to transfer to an SEC school for a nice NIL bump that will put them on a stage to the NFL? Right? All we want is our subordinates to our employees, our team members, to be advanced. And so that's exactly what Graham Nicholson did. He worked 3 years at a lower level program, and boom, a higher level program needed a kicker, and he gets advanced. I think this is just the way of the world. But my real theory is he doesn't file a grievance because they're doing it too.
Yeah. I mean, if there's that level of I don't want to call it an honor system. Maybe I'll call it a dishonor system. That, we're doing it, they're doing it. So we're just not going to tell on each other, but I'm going to nag about it to the national media, to the local media, and obviously a claim like that's going to go national.
Well, I think it's just like what you said, that you don't know the right way to do things is so subjective. It's so, okay, maybe I think this is the right way and I'm trying to operate in the right way, but Billy Rival thinks, oh, Joe's cheating. Joe is just cheating left, right, and center. It's like, no, this is how I'm interpreting the rules. I'm trying to do things right. If my left tackle DMs your left guard and says, hey, man, I need a partner for next year, am I in control of that? Like, I think there's this gray area.
Yeah. Is there any writing talking about, players DMing players, or is it all about coaches? Because at the end of the day, if there's no delegation when it comes to players, then the coaches can say, hey, player, do this for me. You're my captain. I love you. Jalen Milroe, go tell Graham Nicholson you need someone to come kick when you can't finish a drive.
That's almost exactly how it happened with Caden Proctor. Proctor, I'm missing my teammates. Teammates go into the coach. Hey, what would Proctor have to do to come back? And then relay that third-party message back to Caden Proctor, and boom, he's back in Tuscaloosa. Now all of the Alabama fan base is happy about that. But this is just the nature of the beast. These gray area things happen. Things happen in the gray area all the time. And so Chuck Martin, suck it up, realize that you're at Miami of Ohio, and just say, good on you, Graham Nicholson. Go kill it in the SEC.
And tampering is such a nitpicky grievance anyways, because I think at the end of the day, if a player wants to go somewhere else and they have that opportunity, who cares how they learned they had that opportunity? To me, it just seems very almost petty. Hey, he talked to my player when he wasn't supposed to talk to him, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I don't understand the deeper, more complex issues of it. But in my opinion, it's just the players need to be, at the end of the day, where they think is best for them. And one way or another, they're going to do that. So.
We're hanging out with Tyler White, sports director for WDHN. Let's dive into more specifically Alabama topics. We have spent all August going through fall camp. Fall camp basically concludes today at the capstone, and they're basically turning it over into game week prep. Let me make sure Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So tomorrow is the last practice for fall camp, and then they're going to have game week getting started for Western Kentucky. So from your perspective, obviously, we've been covering Coach Saban for many years now, but from your perspective, things have been a bit different. Different isn't always bad. What do you make of the Kalen DeBoer fall camp?
Yeah, from what you hear out of camp, everything seems, peaches and cream, fine and dandy. You'd think, the beat reporters there that are on the field are not going to go out of their way to relay any bad information if it's there. But it seems. But also, I know the beat reporters there in Tuscaloosa are all very respectable and are going to do their job to the best of their ability. And it seems like everything coming out of practice is top notch. Obviously, things are a little bit different, a lot looser. Just from the plain fact the media is able to be at practices, music at practices. It's definitely a different era of Alabama football, but at the same time, a hefty chunk of that roster is still talent that was acquired in the Nick Saban era, and high level talent at that. So your obviously your main area of concern is the defensive backs. It's not for lack of talent. Obviously, it's for lack of experience. I think Malachi Moore, once again, is going into the season underrated and under-talked about. He has been a consistent force on this Alabama defense for, at least the last 2-3 years, in my opinion. I feel like he really stood out to me. Obviously, when you're that young as he was, 3 years ago, you'll make some mistakes. But, he stood out to me. He's always been a playmaker. He's always been someone who consistently knows where he needs to be and can be there and play at a high level. I feel like I think he's going to raise a lot of eyebrows, turn a lot of heads this year as somebody who is really going to minimize the effects of youth in that defensive back room by being such a strong leader for that group.
All right, so you hit something right at the very beginning of your answer that triggered me. My friend David Newberry sent me this on Facebook Messenger, and you guys can always find me at Joe Gaither6 on your favorite social media machine. This is from 24/7 Sports. You talk about, the talent at Alabama is still so high. 24/7 Sports put out their team talent composite, and obviously this is based off their recruiting rankings that they put out. And, okay, from 10 to 1, we'll start 10. 10 Notre Dame, 9 LSU, 8 Oklahoma, 7 Texas A&M, 6 Oregon, 5 Clemson, 4 Texas, 3 Ohio State, 2 Georgia, and number 1, the most talented team in the country from top to bottom, from 1 to 85, is your Alabama Crimson Tide. How do we balance the talent that's still there with the narrative that, Nick Saban is gone, the team and the program is going to implode? How do you think that people are going to react week number 5 when Alabama inevitably beats Georgia and basically announces that, the big bad beast isn't going anywhere?
Well, you know what, Joe? Everyone says Alabama is going to implode simply because they want Alabama to implode. They don't want to see the success continue in Tuscaloosa. Even though all signs really point to it continuing for at least another 2 or 3 years before there may be any major fall off when it comes to the departure of Nick Saban. Now that depends obviously on if Kalen DeBoer can keep up this high level recruiting, because he's already started it. He's already started the recruiting. And we know that he can. We know that he can coach the talent. We know that he can develop the talent. The question was if he could acquire the talent. So far, he is answering that question very, very solidly, I'll say. But, week 5, if Alabama beats Georgia, what can you say? Like, what can you sit here and say? I mean, they'll probably, blame refs. It had to be in Tuscaloosa. There's probably some key non-call or some key penalty that happens against Georgia.
Yeah.
People will never stop talking about. But at the end of the day, top to bottom, people want to act like Jalen Milroe did not become one of the best quarterbacks in the country towards the end of last year. They want to look at the beginning of the year when he struggled against Texas. When, who's going to succeed if your offensive coordinator is calling for the lacrosse player that plays behind you? Who's going to succeed in that situation? And that is further more substantiated when the lacrosse player starts the next game at USF over the 5-star quarterback and Ty Simpson when they want to see who else they have. But then Jalen Milroe comes back, shows that he probably should have always been the starter in the next few games. And then finally, it seems like Tommy Rees is like, this is the guy that's going to be my quarterback. Let me start, tailoring some things to him. And then, bam, you get the LSU game. And then he just starts lighting it up. LSU, Kentucky, and just goes wild down the stretch. Maybe, I don't want to say he struggled against Auburn, because I think he was making plays against Auburn. I think there were just like small misses, and not even on him, but just like, like a Jermaine Burton catch on the sideline that maybe was a catch that didn't get called a catch earlier in the game, to where if that catch is made, then the punt never happens, that Auburn inevitably fumbles. And then everything, that game might have just been over, after he caught that ball. We would have been in the red zone. Clock still running. But I'm getting off my point. Jalen Milroe played very well in the SEC championship against Georgia. Michigan was the only game I feel like after maybe Arkansas that Milroe struggled. And Arkansas, really the struggle was because Landon Jackson was abusing Caden Proctor on the offensive line, and Milroe just had no time. But Caden Proctor's growth down the stretch went a long way to helping Jalen Milroe get better, because obviously it's a team sport. It's a team sport, and as the players play, and get better together, they all get better together. And you see that from Jalen Milroe, and it's like people erase that from their minds now and want to believe that Jalen Milroe is not going to continue on the trajectory that got him to 6th in the Heisman voting, even after being benched in week 3 of the season. Obviously, you can't deny the talent in the wide receiver room. Ryan Williams already looks like a stud. He should be playing tonight, realistically, for Saraland. But no, he's going to be playing next Saturday, and I imagine he's going to have a significant chunk of work. Whether that's in the first half with the initial starters, or if that's in the second half when he starts getting some time, he's going to get some work. Jeremy Bernard's going to be great. Kendrick Law and Cody Prentice, we've seen what they can be. And if Jalen Milroe takes a step, I see no reason why they can't take a step as well. And then on defense, it's not talked about enough how, experienced and talented our defensive line and linebackers are, because they are. It's an incredible unit. It's an incredible front 7 unit. And it just doesn't get talked about enough. It's all about, their secondary is young, so they're going to struggle. But you know what? Sometimes you have to look at what the strengths of a team are. That's what our coaching units are going to look at. And that's how they're going to coach our team. That's how they're going to call our defenses, call our offenses. They're going to call the strengths of these players. And that's what it comes down to. It comes down to if the staff put in place can, make the best of the personnel they have on the field.
All right, Tyler, a lot of good that we've talked about. What's your biggest concern for Alabama?
Well, my biggest concern, truthfully, is obviously the defensive backs, but I think it comes down more to, can we put them in positions to be successful? Because obviously there's a lot of talent there. I mean, you have 3 5-star corners, 3 5-star freshman corners, Keon Sabb, Damani Jackson, it'll be Xavier Brown or Deshaun Jones at the other cornerback spot from what I've gathered. I mean, everyone's saying Devonta Smith is going to be a breakout at the Husky position. So it really comes down to, can Kane Womack be a guy to, keep the Alabama defense up to standard? Because we see Kalen DeBoer coming in, and obviously that gives you a level of comfort that we are going to have some level of decent offense no matter what. Because simply, even if Kalen DeBoer struggles, our offensive line unit, our running back unit, you're going to be able to get yards when you want to get yards there. So it comes down to the defense. And when you have those players that aren't as experienced, but are talented, they have to be put into positions to succeed. You can't put too much on their plate. You can't ask of them what they're not prepared to do. And that was an issue that we saw in 2022, I believe, with DeMarco Helms just being put in places where he really probably should not have been a lot of times, with a defensive coordinator that we should all talk about that I was not very fond of. But you know what? Womack had the South Alabama defense trending upwards every year. And so there's hope there. Obviously, he's a guy who knows Kalen DeBoer. So whether that's for lack of a better word, nepotism hire, hopefully not. That's probably my biggest concern, is whether or not Kane Womack will be the guy to make this Alabama defense play up to the potential early.
We're talking to Tyler White from WDHN in the Wiregrass. But before we continue our conversation, I want to tell you about my friend Derek Daniel at State Farm right up here in Northport. You can call him today at 205-758-3391. He's located 4604 Highway 69 North in Northport, Alabama, 35473, a mile off McFarland Boulevard, right past the Tiger Rock. You'll see him right there on the left. But you need to call Derek Daniel for all of your home, life, and auto insurance needs. Everybody needs to have auto insurance. You're driving around illegally if you don't have auto insurance. So you make sure that you are following the law by calling Derek Daniel at 205-758-3391. Not only do you want to be following the law, but you want to have adequate coverage, especially in this college town. Lots of crazy drivers, so make sure you call them today at 205-758-3391. That's Derek Daniel, State Farm. You can find him online at agentderekdaniel.com. You can call Red, Reese, or Victoria right there at 205-758-3391, and they'll give you a quick quote and make sure that you are properly insured for that nice vehicle that you're riding around in the state of Alabama. So we appreciate Derek Daniel for sponsoring us on the program today. So you want to continue by talking about, sorry, got to leave a little pause there for my ad break on my podcast there. I want to continue by talking about Josh Pate. We all love Josh Pate. You can follow him at Late Kick Josh. But a lot of the major pundits have been putting out their college football playoff predictions. And last night, was it last night? Yeah, last night at 8:30, Josh Pate puts his out. Let's kind of combine the very beginning, the tiebreakers, with the college football playoff. Because, okay, yes, I do think the tiebreakers, the SEC championship tiebreakers, will create a lot of complication and upset feelings in certain fan bases. But before we dive into his prediction, let me ask you kind of to talk about or think about, would you rather be in the SEC championship game as the first or second, one or two in the SEC, or would you rather be that three? You're just left out of the SEC championship game. You get a week off. You're probably pretty much guaranteed in the college football playoff at that point against a weaker opponent as a higher seed. You're probably playing a home game. How would you balance that? Would you rather play in the SEC championship game, win the title, or would you rather take that week off and have that home playoff game pretty much locked in the bag?
You take the logical answer, and that is that you would rather. It's absurd to say, but you'd probably rather take that week off. That's like a built-in bye week. To not play in the championship game. Basically, you're just playing to have your bye week. Basically, that championship game is playing so that your bye week happens later in the season, almost, or playing to play one less playoff game.
Right.
So that is the logical answer: is that you take that week. You get your players healthy, and you're in the playoff. But that is also maybe not in the SEC. The first man out of the SEC championship seems like pretty much a lock to make the playoffs, at least the next 5 years, and probably the next 10, unless there's some substantial fall off of talent in the SEC. Yeah, that I don't see happening. But the prideful answer, obviously, is that you want to play in that championship game because the SEC championship means a lot. The first step down from the national championship is the SEC championship. So you win the SEC championship and you're in the playoffs. So it's another banner. It's another trophy to put in the case. And it's times like this where you have to look inwards and ask yourself, WWNSD, what would Nick Saban do? What would Nick Saban say? And I think it's a valid viewpoint to ask. What do you think Nick Saban would say here? I feel like because you feel like he's the logical guy that's like, maybe he would rather take that week off, not playing the SEC championship if he has that playoff spot locked in. But also, he seems like a guy that is very traditional as well, and has a sense of pride about that SEC championship that he wants to play in that. But his goal ultimately is national championship. So, what gives you a better chance to compete for a national championship? I imagine if you're not playing in the SEC championship, you're probably not looking at a first round bye in the playoffs.
No.
Yeah. So.
The
conference champions are the first round buys, obviously. So yeah, it's just like an earlier bye week and one less playoff game, but instead of a playoff game, you're playing in the conference championship. So it's almost like conference champions. They say, "Oh, you get this bye week," but you basically just had to play a game to get it. So it's kind of like I don't know.
All right, so Josh Pate, his prediction is as follows. Number one, he's got number 1 seed Ohio State, number 2 seed Texas, number 3 seed Miami, 4 seed Ohio State, 5 Oregon, 6 Alabama, 7 Florida State, 8 Georgia, 9 Penn State, 10 Ole Miss, 11 Notre Dame, and 12 with the automatic qualifier, the Memphis Tigers. So yes, the top 4 conference champions get the automatic qualifiers and the bye weeks, the top 4 seeds, so that he has basically Ohio State winning the Big Ten, Texas winning the SEC, Miami winning the ACC, and Oklahoma State winning the Big 12. His fate for the Crimson Tide, though, can you imagine how bananas it would be in Tuscaloosa to be hosting Notre Dame in the first round of the college football playoffs on Saban Field in Bryant-Denny Stadium? I just think this place might explode. The whole town might explode.
It'd be beautiful.
Might explode. He's got Alabama beating Notre Dame, beating Miami, and then losing to Texas in the semifinals of the college football playoff. How would the Alabama fan base, one, how do you react to that? But how do you think the Alabama fan base as a whole would react to that fate for the Crimson Tide?
I think that is a prediction that anyone should be happy with in year one under Kalen DeBoer. Year one, going out and losing to a proven Texas team that does not have a change in leadership and was also right there in the same place as Alabama was last year. But at the same time, it's a team that Kalen DeBoer beat. So I don't see how anyone, especially considering there's a lot of people out there that genuinely believe that Alabama will not make the playoffs in year one under Kalen DeBoer. So if that is the alternative to winning 2 playoff games and losing to Texas in the semifinals, I think a lot of people would be happy about that. I think that's something that I can get behind. I'm not going to be delusional and say, hey, Kalen DeBoer is going to go out here and win it in year one. I do, however, feel like we have a good chance because I am that big of a believer in Jalen Milroe. This is Jalen Milroe's last season in Alabama. He's not sticking around. He's going to go to the NFL. He's going to be an NFL quarterback. You know, the more I say that, though, if Milroe doesn't reach, his potential, he could theoretically stick around for another year. He seems like the kind of guy that could stick around for his senior year. That'd be interesting. That would be an interesting storyline as that progresses towards the end of the year. But there's a long ways to get to there. But man, 2 playoff wins in year one. I won in one person who was very enthused about the expanded playoffs. I love I've always been a big fan of the NFL playoff format, and this obviously emulates that very closely. So I was happy about it. It gives the G5 team a chance to get in there every year and compete, potentially multiple. If NCAA football has anything to say about it, they're going to put multiple G5 teams in the playoff every year. But man, Alabama, it'd be hard to believe that they wouldn't make the playoffs this year, and under a head coach that just won the national championship and a roster that was just in the semifinals and a 4-team. However, they're not going to make a 12-team playoff. And then if they make the 12-team playoff, who are they going to get matched up against in that first round that they would not be favorites against?
Can you imagine Notre Dame, just the pageantry, Notre Dame coming to Tuscaloosa for a playoff game? Oh my gosh, my heart would stop.
Yeah, I don't know if Notre Dame. No, does Notre Dame have the team to get to the playoffs this year?
I don't know much about Notre Dame, but I'm looking at their schedule right now. I don't think they have a very challenging schedule. Yeah, we're A&M, Northern Illinois, Purdue, Miami of Ohio, Louisville, Stanford, Georgia Tech, Navy. Here we go. Florida State. There's your big one. Virginia, Army, and Southern Cal. So lots of question marks on their schedule. If they navigate that pretty easily, Notre Dame, your big brand, you're getting in.
Yeah, very easy. I mean, a very easy path to like a maximum of 2 losses for them. That's A&M and Florida State. So does the 2-loss Notre Dame team make it in? with no conference championship.
As an 11 seed is what he has them. So I mean, you got the brand power, the money. Yeah, they're in.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's a reason that nobody likes Notre Dame unless you're a Notre Dame fan.
People don't want to acknowledge the brand power, but I think that it is a significant factor, and it is a significant additive for the Alabama Crimson Tide because Alabama's brand power is as good as almost anyone's in college football. So
ask Florida State.
Exactly. Tyler, let's get out of here for the day. Are you coming up for the Western Kentucky? And what's going to be the WDHN schedule as far as coming to Tuscaloosa?
I'll be coming up as a fan for Western Kentucky. I did apply for a credential, but I probably applied a little bit late. They kicked me out. They said, nope, no can do. No credential for you for Western Kentucky. Okay. You cannot come to this game for free. But I have applied for credentials for the Georgia game, the Auburn game, obviously, and two others. We applied for credentials for Missouri. We don't host. Who else? There was one other SEC team that we're hosting this year. LSU. No, not LSU. Not LSU. Yeah. What'd you say?
I think it's maybe South Carolina.
South Carolina, I believe. We also apply for credentials. Then we're going to be going to Auburn for the Texas A&M game. I'd like to try to have one of our people go up for the Oklahoma game. Obviously, that's on the weekend of Georgia, so we will be in Tuscaloosa, myself and my partner, Michael. There's one other Auburn game that we're definitely going to. I don't remember what it was. We'll be at every Troy game, of course. Love the Troy Trojans. They're under a coaching change right now, so a lot to look out for there. If they can repeat as the 3-time Sun Belt champions, it's going to be tough. Texas State has infused a ton of talent. Got a little bit of recruiting going on over there at Texas State to bring in a lot of talent. So Sun Belt's going to be a fun one to watch this year, I believe, if you're a fan of the G5 conferences. Let's take a look over there at the Sun Belt, Troy, Texas State, Appalachian State. I'll just say App State. JMU, obviously, Old Dominion. I don't know. They're all fun teams to watch.
All right, last thing for us. Tomorrow is week 0. I do not care about the Montana State-New Mexico game. I don't care about you, SMU and Nevada. I don't care about you, Delaware State or Hawaii. What do we think about tomorrow, 11 a.m., Florida State and Georgia Tech in Dublin, Ireland? Florida State, 10.5-point favorite. Real quick.
Yeah, Florida State better win. They better cover. I believe I have staked a little bit of cash on them to cover at this point already.
Okay, all right, we'll go Seminoles for your cash and your wallet.
Yeah. Georgia Tech. We have a kid that he's a true freshman there that just left from our area. He's a linebacker there. It'd be cool to see him play a little bit. I doubt we will. There's likely no chance he plays. He could be redshirting, but I haven't kept up with that. But Florida State ought to cover. I think Georgia Tech. Haynes King was not great when he was at Texas A&M. I don't expect him to be much better at Georgia Tech. But you know what? I've never been good at putting my money online. So if you guys want to make money, it might be the play to take Georgia Tech in the points. That might be the play.
Fade Tyler White, but make sure you see him tonight at WDHN and follow him at Tyler White TV. Tyler, thanks so much for your time. Good luck with high school football kicking off in the Wiregrass tonight.
And of course, you as well. Thank you. See you later, Jeff.
Tyler White joining us, and we appreciate his time jumping in and joining us today. You make sure you go follow him at Tyler White TV, and make sure you check him out at WDHN each and every night, with his sportscast right down there in the Wiregrass in the Dothan area. Let's get out of here for the day by telling you about Purple Turtle Roofing once again. They're the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Mississippi and Alabama. Whether it is addressing leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your company. Check them out online at www.roofturtle.com or call them at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free roof inspection. 877-787-6635. They're going to send out one of their qualified employees. They'll come check out your roof for free, and they're going to make sure that you're prepared for any and all of life's storms. We get out of here for the day, and we'll talk to you again right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.